Hey guys, welcome to the Dawg House Podcast. On this week's episode, we got great return guest Derrick Dawg as we discuss Georgia's disappointing and stinging loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. And we feel like we are cursed and just have bad luck in that building. Also, we look at the controversial college football playoff rankings. Also, look at the transfer portal. Georgia's got 6 in the transfer portal. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. That'll really help us out. Return guest, Derrick Dawg's been on us with us several times over the years. It's glad to have him back. How we doing today, Derrick?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me back. How we doing over there?
Doing okay. I'll admit Saturday was disappointing, I guess, and stung a little bit. But at the end, it was 29 straight, 2 national titles. I do hate losing to Alabama again. And what was that? 0-4 Mercedes Benz, and I think Kirby's 1-5. So it's just
I think we're gonna need a new SEC championship spot in Atlanta or something. Like
yeah,
that,
bring back the Georgia Dome.
right? Just that was a feeling. Kind of forgot what it felt like a little bit, after the run we've been on and everything, just to kind of get that stressful and then have that right at the end and like, man, come on again.
Exactly, and I thought we got over it because beating LSU there. Actually, I guess we were 3-0 last year because we
Yeah.
beat Oregon, LSU, and then Peach Bowl
Yep.
against Buckeyes.
Yep.
So yeah, but the guys again. But looking at it, 27-24. I thought we got beat in the trenches. I thought pushed us off. You look at the stats; it wasn't really overwhelming. I mean, Beck had the costly turnover, the penalty right before the kick because Woodring hadn't missed one since South Carolina game. And then we did contain, Milroy didn't. He had 2 touchdowns, but they did have 114 yards. We really couldn't get the running game going. You go 31 for 78 for 2.5 yards, and then you had Brock Bowers and Ladd limping around. The telling tape for me, I remember telling my mom, and I think I even said it on here, the 3 like padlock stats. If you follow Josh Pate, I said if you could outrush them, win the turnover battle, and you can get more than 30 points, to me, you would
Yep.
have won. You would have won, and we didn't
Yep.
get any of those. They outrushed us. We had one more turnover from them and penalties, and we didn't get 30. But I mean, if you would have told anyone, hey, if you hold Alabama to 27, we would have been okay. But what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of the same. I mean, I think injuries
Yep.
was one of the biggest things that hurt us because, Ladd, McConkey tried, but you could tell he was nowhere near 100%. And
Oh yeah,
Bowers, same thing. You could tell Bowers was just playing through the pain.
yeah,
I mean, he kind of gave off when you watch some games of Travis Kelsey when he's playing through that pain and I'm gonna make it work kind of thing, but you can tell they're slower than normally are. I think one of the big things too. When was it that Mims went down?
it was like second quarter, I think, right?
Yeah,
I think,
and
yeah,
I think that really changed some stuff too.
it did.
Um, yeah, and so as always, it's can we stay healthy, and not lose anybody big and key go down
Yeah,
early on, and we kind of had that with Mims going down, and it felt like it was that first drive, it was like, okay, we're gonna some
yeah,
short passes, dunk, we're gonna dunk it off. We're moving it. They didn't know what was coming. We were throwing it short. Then when they would go to cover that, we were running it up the middle. And I mean, it was that first series, and it was almost like, I
yeah,
don't like to say that, but we went there for a while to where it was, all right, that opposing team scored first. We got it out of our system, and we were good to go.
yeah,
And it was kind of like opposite, right? Like
yeah,
we stopped them, then we scored on the first drive, and it was like, oh man, I forgot what this is. And then it was
exactly.
like, oh man, like so. I think it was just some, we we couldn't get anything. We tried running a lot of those same run plays up the middle instead of, but I don't, I think one of the problems was Bowers and McConkey and stuff just couldn't get open. They just, when you missing a step, you just can't break away. And it
Sure.
against a team like Bama, man, they got all those big boys and it's tough.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the biggest things. You had that, so we were trying to force stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
think Beck's fumble. I think it was a kind of a forced play. We wanted to try to get sneaky with it, and
Yeah.
instead of let's make sure we're taking care of the ball first, and the one, and then the penalties of the false start and stuff that pushed us back to then missing the field goal. And and then it kind of snowballed from there. The was it a catch? Wasn't it? Never reviewed call,
Yep.
which
Isaiah
I'll
Bond.
never I'll never understand. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, man, they got to look at this, right? Because
Yeah.
it was under 2 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he had two timeouts, and I think one of his things he was trying to save the timeouts, but I know Kirby's got a lot going on. I felt like somebody in the booth should have been in his ear, like, "Hey, call timeout." But
Well, it is and does the after below 2 minutes, the replays have to come from the booth, don't they? Kind of like the NFL, I think.
I think so, maybe. And I felt
Yeah,
like that should have been a call on, the review team or whatever
right.
should have.
I mean it. So and when they got that and then come back and you see the replays and you're like, man, why wasn't that reviewed? And then
Yeah.
you
Because they
know,
scored the touchdown. You never know
uh,
that we could have got it back and scored. It could have been, 7, 10 point swing.
yeah. So I
And
mean that's a bit and getting the ball in the second half. I mean they don't get those 7 points. Who knows what happened, right?
yeah,
So and we're starting the second half off. So I just think it's a lot of we were missing tackles on defense, which we haven't done in a while, and
yeah,
I just think we played a good game, but it wasn't a great game.
yeah.
And to when you play Bama, if you don't play great, you're not beaten
Oh yeah,
and it's you beat yourself, and that's at the end of the day that's what it came down to. And unfortunately losing by the 3 points. I mean, Beck didn't play terrible, but he didn't make some of the passes that we might have needed at that time. Or you can point to anything, but it's a lot of it was self-inflicted, and then you add on a lot of the calls not getting called,
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
the refs looking the other way and
yeah.
kind of get what happened.
And I think they had their back against the wall, and I'm sure Saban was like, they don't, they said you're not going to win. This is this grand behemoth. Georgia hadn't lost in 29 games. I'm sure he used that. But I did feel like they were the overall team. Like we hung in there. We kind of could have came back at the end, but I think they just pushed us around the trenches, and I think everybody's surprised on that. Um, and then you just got to bring your A game when you go against Alabama. Any little like razor thin, and they'll make you pay. So
Well, I also think it felt like, maybe our guard was let down a little bit in the sense after watching what happened against Auburn. Because I know
yeah,
when I was going in, well, waiting to watch the game and stuff, kind of just thinking like, man, maybe this isn't going to be,
that's right.
Auburn was running all over them and in that game and stuff. Edwards and Milton are looking great. They're going to be able to run up like this isn't going to be as tough as. And then, man, if they didn't come out swinging.
Yeah. Let's let's go in time. Just like since you mentioned the Auburn game, and think about it. Let's say if they drop that game, and it probably could be even worse from Georgia
Yeah.
because they would come in pissed off. They had two losses. Are things different today? If they would have like, hey, let's just say they still beat us, do we still think we get in, or does Florida State get in?
No, I think we get in over Florida State
Yeah,
because I think they kind of show with that pick of um of Bama that they had to go with an SEC school.
yeah,
That I mean that's what I think. I mean, you know, I haven't seen a team get hosed as bad as they did because do even though say we would have lost to Bama, are they still putting Texas in over us? Because they may have still been able to take Florida State and then maybe Texas gets left out. Because I feel like they felt obligated to take both Texas and Alabama because they couldn't just put Bama in because Texas beat them in the head-to-head.
Yeah, we were texting. I know it was late Saturday, and I agreed with your four, and I thought that's what it was going to be. Is it was going to
Yeah,
be Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Florida State. I know they had the injury. That's what they said, the Jordan Travis injury, which they didn't look great. I didn't really get to watch the Florida State game. I heard it was pretty hard to watch. What 55, 56 passing yards with third string
yeah,
quarterback.
it was bad.
But they're 13-0. They won all their games. They're a Power Five team. If you would have put Clemson in the same situation, I think they would have been Clemson in. It's just I think they maybe even had a little bit of a scare from TCU. I was hearing that today. They didn't want another TCU game.
But see the problem with the using the TCU example to me is if you want to blame anybody for TCU, blame Michigan. Michigan lost to them.
Yep,
Like it isn't
agree.
like TCU lost in the quarter or in the
Right.
semi. No, they beat Michigan to get to the national champ. So it's not TCU's fault on that. Like they keep using TCU as the excuse. That's Michigan's fault when it comes to that. Then leave them out of the playoffs if you want to blame somebody. I
Yeah.
mean, it's I,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I've just never seen a team like Georgia lose by 3 points and get almost talked about in the media as if you would have thought we lost by 30 points.
Yeah. Plus, I think this is the first time was it a number one ranked team after championship weekend had
Fell
dropped
out of the top
out of the
four.
four. Of course, that's
Yeah,
us. But I do want to say, hey, we give it to Alabama fans. I know, but they're kind of like Alabama against the world. But you did get the win, so I'll give you that. But it's just a seeming a little bit of Alabama biased. I mean, Nick Saban coming on Pat McAfee on Thursdays. He might he made a call. So I'm giving them their props. That was a great win, even though I hate to say it. But it's just it was a weird year. But I guess I know we were bummed as Georgia fans. I felt bad for Florida State, especially like the room. And then
yeah.
I mean
What?
13. I think about if we would have been. Hey, here's another one that someone said on Twitter today where it was interesting. Would Alabama, if they were number one in our shoes and would have lost by 3 points to us, does Alabama get knocked out of the top four? I bet you they wouldn't because it's Alabama.
I agree. I but see
So,
that's where on Get Up to this morning that was the best analogy is the committee has turned this into figure skating because
uh,
they
Greeny,
yeah
yeah,
it's their opinion and it's and that's why it's anybody can go you can go down that rabbit hole all day. Well, let's talk about who has better wins and who has better losses. At the end of the day, that's what has always annoyed me a little bit is that it's always, well, if you lose early it's better than if you lose at the end of the season. Why? A loss is a loss. It shouldn't matter if it was the first game of the season or the last game of the season, and
right,
but it makes a difference.
right,
And it's and that's how they drive it. And they want to make it, well, who's the most deserving to the top four, who's the best four teams. Well,
right.
if you want the best four teams, there's no way you keep four. Absolute, like there's
Yeah,
just no way you can do that. But if it's the most deserving, well, I mean, you would think Florida State would go in there, being the only Power Five team to ever go undefeated in their season.
yeah,
And they beat LSU.
yeah.
Like they beat some good teams, and then win their conference championship and get left out. I mean,
Definitely.
I ain't never seen anything like it. Man,
Why even play the games, right?
that's where you know everybody will just start scheduling those conference USA teams and schedule you some Georgia the Sun Belt teams and Liberty and Kennesaw State and whoever else.
Georgia Southern, App State, yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, well, before we jump into maybe looking at some of the transfer portal and some of the playoff games, I think Florida State probably needed some of these yesterday, and Georgia fans too. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. I know I drank a couple of them watching the game. I was stressed. My favorite watermelon, elderberry, huckleberries, great for 20% off. Dawg House 20. Again, that's Dawg House 20 for 20% off. Check out VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. They've been a great sponsor of the show. And on the talking back for the playoff games, so I know we're getting Florida State, probably break down that next couple of weeks. So looking at the early playoff games, Texas against Washington. I think it was at 7.5 point spread, I think. And I think I've even
Yeah.
seen Michigan's favored a little bit over Bama, like 1.5. What's your early thoughts on the playoff games?
I for the Washington Texas, I think Washington's a good team,
There.
but their defense is not the greatest,
Hmm.
and I think they'll start off as a battle with Texas, but Texas has got some dudes on the defense, and they
They're
got
built
some.
like an SEC team. I agree.
Yes, 100%. Sark has done a good job out there. So I think ends up beating them. And then for the Bama Michigan, I just, you know, I think it's the same situation a couple years ago. Michigan came in playing us, thinking that they were, we're the Michigan of old. We're back, and then they got
Hmm.
punched in the jaw a few times.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Alabama's just they're not going to have a way to stop Miller. Or I just don't. So I think it's going to be a Bama Texas championship game.
Which will be bittersweet rematch. Actually, it's 4 points. I got that wrong. Texas -4 over Washington.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be at Alabama. They're dangerous coming in the back
Yep.
door, and they're going to be. But Texas would match up really well with them. I think with Michigan, they're going to try to do that bully ball. They're going to try to run. Uh, is it what's his name? Corrigan? What's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some of it sounds about right.
yeah,
Tell
yeah.
me.
But they're going to try to run him, and I'm not impressed with JJ McCarthy. And
No.
but their defense is pretty solid. Like they've contained teams. They held Ohio State. But you're going to give Saban against Harbaugh. You're going to give him an extra 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
if I had to
It.
pick, and I think it's going to be out there in the Rose Bowl. So that's interesting. So that whole thing with they're going to have to travel further than the winner. Remember that happened to Georgia back in 2017. So we'll
Yeah.
see. But I do like Texas. Quentin Ewers is humming, and they blew out Oklahoma State. That was an impressive win. But I like those picks too.
Yeah. It'll
And
be a
then
good.
looking at Portal Palooza, as Jake Rowe from Dogs HQ said, that's been coined before. I think Georgia's got, is it 6 already? Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that, or maybe anybody else?
Well, I've heard that there's probably going to be some more too.
Yeah.
It's you know at first it was like okay, guys can that don't aren't getting to play or whatever, but now it just seems like it's end of the year. Okay, well, I either didn't get to play as much or I'm going to go to this school because I'm they're probably getting offered more money to go.
Right.
Because I think it was Matt Rule said right in the portal to get a good quarterback it costs $1.5 million to $2 million.
Right.
I mean, it's as if these guys transfer and then a year go by or whatever, and then they want to leave again. And it's like as if the NFL did a free agency without signing contracts and it was just a handshake deal. All right, I'm going to pay you millions of dollars to come play for us. Oh, yeah, and then I'm gonna go to this team over here next. Like crazy.
Yeah, looking at some of the names, Brock Vandergrift's pretty big for us. I know he's a big name for us being back up. Justin Jefferson, I think he's a kind of a second or third string.
Yeah,
He was down on the depth chart. Austin Blasky, Jackson Meeks, C.J. Madden. So I feel like it's not really any starters. And if BBG, he's been great. He's not going to walk. He's not going to be there for. He didn't want to wait around. But I think it'll be Beck, Gunnar Stockton, Dylan Raiola, and I forgot about is it Polinsky kid?
yeah.
He's coming in too, which they say. I mean, so it's gonna be. It was a deep room there, so I can't blame the kid if he wanted to play. So if you were BBG, any destinations you would look at? Maybe I think South Carolina's out there.
I think South Carolina would be a really good
Looks like
fit.
Oklahoma with Dylan. I think he was originally recruited. I think he was originally recruited by Oklahoma, right? And then
Yep.
Kate Williams went
Yep.
went there. So yeah, so
Well,
maybe that's
I wonder it'll be interesting to see about the Dylan Gabriel kid if he goes to Mississippi State because
yeah.
the with Libby going to be the new head coach there,
Hmm.
if he's going to follow him from Oklahoma.
Did he have a guy that? I mean, he was the starter all year. Is there a reason why you think? Was there maybe a guy? getting a push there? Is that why he would probably leave?
They must have someone coming in because
Yeah.
I it's kind of the same thing with Ohio State is because there's been rumors that they've been trying to get Arch Manning to hop in the portal and stuff. The question is McCord leaving, is that a hint that Arch Manning might try leaving and going to say Ohio State or somewhere like that? So
Yeah, he was third string. I think that other guy was ahead
yeah,
of him, like Malik.
yep, yep.
And his Ewers got one more year. He'll probably come back one more
He
year.
does. Yeah, he's coming back. He announced he's coming back.
Yeah, he had a good year. So yeah.
Yeah, him and McCord actually our numbers are almost identical. If you look it up, I saw a thing where it put them right next to each other, and their numbers are almost identical. And it's just crazy that you don't usually that it's just that's where like the portal has just changed things. You don't usually see the starter of a team like Ohio State that has only one loss dipping out like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Georgia, at least on the quarterback side, I know we had Fields, but it seems like most of those guys kind of stay around.
Yeah.
We've been kind of lucky. Um, yeah, then and looking forward, it's going to be a brutal schedule next year. I'm kind of hoping with the 12 team, maybe we can do like 10-2,
Oh,
get one of the later games or drafts, not drafts,
yeah.
but rankings.
Yeah, going to Tuscaloosa in September. I think it's September, and then going to out to Texas in October.
Yeah.
Man,
Do
those
we have to
are.
do Ole Miss too? Is that going to be the West? Who's going to be the West teams we have? Or it's just Alabama and
Well,
Auburn?
I don't think. Well, remember the divisions are gone,
Yeah, yeah.
so so there's no East or West. It's just I know I have to look up the schedule.
Yeah, I think the
We
schedule's going to be is going to be in the next couple of weeks,
because
soon.
the only thing is we don't play South Carolina, which I hate because
Yeah.
not only is that a nice little win to get, it's bragging rights living right here in South, right across the line here in South Carolina.
Plus, you got the misses too. House divided.
Exactly. So we all can't be perfect, so I got to give her a hard time every now and then.
Oh yeah. But and then early look at so we're playing Florida State. I know it depends on how many guys opt out. And I think we're like 13.5 point spread. Do they come in kind of motivated? I mean, they still only have they'll probably have their backup quarterback. So what you think about early matchup on that?
I think it's really going to come down to the opt out.
Yeah.
So and that's what makes a lot of these New Year's Six bowls tough because it's you think back to when was it 2020 when we played Texas? It was in the Sugar Bowl, and it was going in, and that was that. After that, it was the Texas is back bit.
Oh yeah.
After, and it was and we had a bunch of opt outs and guys leaving and things like that, and it was a different game, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's with these New Year's Six. It's hard to tell right now because a lot of these guys haven't made that decision. I did see where Milton said he's playing,
That's
so
good.
I'm good, glad to see that he said he's going to be in the trenches with his boys. So it's and he's playing lights out right now. So that's a huge
Did you see Brock coming back just because he wants to do it one more time? I mean, he's that kind of guy.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I mean, again, I think that's one thing that the NIL money has kind of changed things a little bit because before it was if guys came back, they weren't getting paid to where it was you had to have that insurance policy if they got hurt or whatever happened. Now it's they're making a decent amount of money to where it's good. I mean, Caleb Williams he's playing if but I think he's going to go. But it does open that conversation, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see in the coming weeks. Hopefully, not too crazy in the transfer portal. But I guess Rusty Manziel, I was listening earlier. He says so. It's kind of player for player. So if Georgia has one go, they'll try to get one back, and
Right.
I think they're looking at 5+. So I think we're going to have a lot of action on our end. A lot of D linemen out there, especially from Texas A&M, like
Yeah.
Walter Nolan. They had a really good D line. All those guys are in the transfer portal. Maybe we'll focus on some receivers, maybe a running back. I know I heard the ATN kid. I'd take him. He's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but is and on the running back side, I know Milton's gone. So you think Edwards will come back, or is he got one more year? Hey, John.
That's a I I think I think the biggest thing is how really looking at too is how our running backs that were pretty much hurt this season.
Yeah.
Is it going to take them another year to get back good?
Yeah.
When you think of leg injuries and things like that,
Yeah.
um,
Branson Robinson. Yeah.
it took Chubb almost a good year
Oh,
to
yeah.
just start trusting that leg again, and then of course he went off, but
Yeah.
um, it's one of those things for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I think we got some, yeah, we got three good running backs coming in there. I think Nate Frazier, number one overall running back. So we got some good running backs coming in. We'll just be young.
Yeah. What do you think of Fran leaving for Syracuse?
Yeah, I mean, I was just surprised. I mean, I hope that wasn't a distraction. I know he coached, but I mean, good for him. I think that it was kind of like a out of the box pick for Syracuse. I think he's really big in recruiting up in the
Right.
north.
Right.
But I think it'll be really attractive. We'll get a guy right away. We'll get a really attractive kind of up and coming guy. Kirby's probably got his coaching tree.
Right.
And then Glenn Schumann, I'm sure he might be a name everybody goes after, but I think, just move Muschamp over and I'm sure he could find another guy. But
Right.
I just hope we hold on this recruiting class because it'll be here for I think it's what, the 20th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope we keep some of the recruits that Fran Brown. But yeah, good for him. Probably makes Georgia look good too. Maybe like Corey Raymond, or I think that guy from Houston is looking around for a
Yeah.
job. He's really big in the Texas area, so get some of those guys.
I I trust in Kirby. He's got someone ready to go.
Oh yeah, he's got his dudes. That is one thing. He's had some good hires, find some diamond. It might be not a flashy name, but it'll be like, all right, well, we'll
Right.
trust him. And he's
Right.
good at roster management, so I trust him on the players.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, man. Really appreciate you jumping on today. Any way we can follow you on social media at all? I know you got your Instagram.
Just my Instagram. That's I would say that's the main one that I really follow. I mean, you can look me up, Derrick West I'm on Facebook.
There you go.
Those are the main two. I stick to the kind of the old school when it comes to social
Yeah,
media
same here.
things.
All right, Derek, we appreciate it. I know that was a disappointing loss, but maybe if we can take care of business, finish up 13-1, that'd be still a great year.
That's it, man. Well, thanks
Beat
again
the
for having.
Knowles.
That's it. That's it. Well, thanks again for having me and go dogs.
Yeah, man. Go Dogs. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
See ya.